They tore open the heavy oak doors at dawn, sunbeams cutting through the lingering darkness in the Newport Beach mansion. A hush fell over the crew as they stepped into the grand foyer, where dust motes danced in the air and every surface was coated in a thin film of neglect. For over 30 years, this house had stood sealed, a time capsule of John Wayne's life, locked away after the Duke's death in 1979. No relative dared disturb its silent rooms until 2011, when whispers of hidden fortune and long-buried secrets finally overcame the family's fear. What lay behind those shuttered windows would rewrite everything fans believed about the legendary actor's legacy. They began in the study, where towering bookshelves loomed like silent sentinels guarding their owner's private world. Leather-bound tomes, dog-eared and cracked at the spine, revealed Wayne's appetite for history and war strategy. Subjects he devoured with the same passion that fueled his on-screen heroics. Scattered across the mahogany desk lay stacks of photographs behind the scenes, stills of dusty Western sets, candid snapshots with John Ford, and rare images of a younger Wayne grinning with the bruises of football practice still fresh on his face. These prints, once locked away, now spoke volumes about the man beyond the myth. A narrow hallway led them to a climate-controlled vault, its door riveted shut as if to repel any attempt at intrusion. Inside, rows of glass cases displayed an astonishing array of movie memorabilia that had once fetched record-breaking sums at auctions. Here rested the original Union cavalry jacket from the horse soldiers, its blue wool faded to a muted slate. There, an eye patch from True Grit, scuffed and worn, hinted at the physical tall Wayne, endured to bring Rooster Cogburn to life. A brass spittoon from the Alamo sat on its pedestal, tarnished by time but still gleaming faintly under the lights. These artifacts, relics of another era, were poised to ignite a bidding war that collectors would remember for decades. But the true shock came when they reached the safe at the back of the vault. Heavy and unmarked, it looked more like a monolithic block than a container for valuables. With careful precision, the team drilled through its lock and swung open the door. Inside lay stacks of envelopes, each sealed with Wayne's initials in crimson wax. Letters, more letters. Handwritten pages from the Duke himself, confessions of ambitions and regrets, musings on fame and mortality. Some missives were addressed to his wives, revealing a side of Wayne that few had ever seen: tender apologies, expressions of doubt, and moments of raw vulnerability that contradicted his ironclad persona. Beyond the letters, they discovered a thin leather folder marked simply, WOILL. Heartbeats quickened as they pried it open. Instead of a lavish division of assets, favoring one spouse or another, the will contained clauses that split the estate almost evenly among his 7 children, excluding his third wife entirely. The Duke's last instructions, written in clear, unaffected handwriting, spoke of loyalty to blood ties over marital obligations. The revelation sent shockwaves through the family. Whispers of betrayal and schisms erupted in hushed corners of courtrooms and conference rooms alike. As the investigation moved to the grand ballroom, giant arched windows overlooked manicured grounds where palm trees swayed in the ocean breeze. The walls, once gleaming ivory, were marred by water stains and cracked plaster, but their bones remained magnificent. Hanging panels concealed built-in gun racks, which still held classic Winchester rifles. Vast trophies of John Wayne's passion for history and his fascination with weaponry. Expert appraisers would later value each piece at upwards of 6 figures, making this discovery an unimaginable windfall for anyone who held the title deeds. A hidden compartment slid open beneath the ballroom's dance floor to reveal stacks of silver dollars minted in 1878, coins carefully wrapped in velvet pouches bearing John Wayne's signature. Each pouch contained 20 coins. Symbolic, Wayne's business manager explained, of the actor's quiet superstition around even numbers. These uncirculated coins, pristine and untouched, would fetch a handsome price on the collector's market, yet their true value was sentimental, a testament to the man's belief in legacy and preservation. The last room they entered was the master bedroom, where the sun cast long shadows across a four-poster bed draped with heavy velvet curtains. Underneath the mattress, a hidden drawer revealed stacks of canceled checks, payments to cast and crew, donations to unknown charities, and sizable sums sent anonymously to individuals identified only by initials. Wayne's philanthropic side had been meticulously documented but never publicly acknowledged, and these records would shed new light on his quiet generosity, his choices to give without seeking credit or applause. Throughout the hour-long sweep, the team recorded every hinge squeak, every creak of floorboard, and every gasp as yet another treasure emerged from the dark corners. The mansion, once thought to be a mausoleum of secrets, transformed into a living archive, offering a more complete portrait of a cultural icon. When the sun dipped low and the shadows lengthened, the final boxes were sealed, ready for transport to preservation specialists and auction houses. What they found inside would not only shock the world, but also reshape the legend of John Wayne forever. The following morning, the auction preview hall buzzed with anticipation. Auctioneers and appraisers arranged Wayne's artifacts on velvet-lined tables, their tags gleaming under soft spotlights. Reporters jockeyed for the best vantage point, while eager collectors whispered among themselves, their imaginations racing at the promise of obtaining a piece of Hollywood history. The hush that fell when the first envelope was unsealed echoed with reverence. Media crews readied their cameras, hoping to capture the moment a journalist peeled back the seal. On one more envelope, scrawled with the Duke's initials. This hush was the calm before a storm of revelations. Inside one pale manila envelope lay a handwritten letter dated 1974. The Duke's steady script spilled across the page, confessing fears that fame built walls around him. "I feel more alone with every standing ovation," he wrote, "as though applause built a prison I cannot escape." Readers gasped at the raw vulnerability. This was not the towering figure who barked commands on screen, but a man wrestling with isolation and doubt. Each confession challenged the public's memory of Wayne's unflinching toughness, painting him as a fragile soul hidden behind the American hero mask. Nearby, glass cases showcased the Duke's cherished possessions, like relics in a museum. His battered Union cavalry jacket lay next to scabbed brass spurs, worn during the brutal Texas shoot in 1960. A small placard noted warping from heat and sweat, proof of filming in 110-degree temperatures. Collectors circled the displays, calculating how high bids might climb once the gavel dropped. Auction previews hinted the most coveted items could command seven-figure sums. Some experts argued the emotional weight of ownership would outstrip monetary value, the chance to own a piece of Hollywood royalty. Meanwhile, whispers of the Duke's clandestine philanthropy began to ripple through the crowd. In a corner, appraisers displayed stacks of canceled checks, drawn on Wayne's personal account, each recipient's identity redacted to maintain confidentiality. Beneath the printed names lay initials: MD, CJ, FB. Some checks bore amounts so substantial they hinted at secret partnerships with charitable foundations, possibly supporting veterans or orphaned children. Specialists speculated these acts of kindness explained why Wayne avoided publicizing his donations. More than a Hollywood star, he was a hidden benefactor, his quiet generosity eclipsing even his on-screen heroics in humility and impact. Legal representatives sat at a mahogany table, passing folders as siblings confronted terms of their father's will. Heated exchanges flared when one brother accused another of collusion, claiming handwritten clauses were altered after Wayne's death. Attorneys demanded forensic analysis of the ink and paper. Tension mounted as a court reporter scribbled furiously. This wasn't just memorabilia, it was a family torn apart by mistrust. Outside, cameras captured each member's expression. Betrayal mingled with a desperate hope that the dupe had meant to unite them. Meanwhile, headlines blazed across online portals. Duke's darkest confession revealed. Secret charity checks expose Hollywood's tough guy tender side. Social media erupted into trending debates under the hashtag #FakeJohnWayneSecrets, fueling FOMO among fans who feared missing out on each new update. Influencers Live streamed their reactions, speculating on which item would break auction records. Reddit threads exploded with theories. Was Wayne's generosity mask for guilt? Did his vault conceal more contraband? The digital frenzy blurred lines between history and gossip, turning private papers into public spectacle. Every ping of a notification promised another morsel of insight, another twist in the saga of America's cinematic legend. Later, an auction preview video posted on the House's official page showed close-ups of Wayne's personal effects, his worn leather journal bristling with clipped newspaper articles, sketches, and grainy Polaroids. Viewers leaned in to catch the faint scrawl of his grocery list, scribbled beside a note on politics. Amid the dust and decay, these trivial details grounded the legend in human reality. A commenter wrote, "It's like reading his mind." Another tagged a friend with, "We'll have to watch this live." Each reaction underscored the growing urgency. People needed to see every frame, every glance, to feel a connection to a star who once seemed untouchable. As the public count reached thousands of pre-registrations for live bidding, the vault's manager announced a surprise, an unmarked reel of audio tapes hidden behind a row of scripts. Early tests suggested they contained Wayne's voice. Casual interviews, dinner conversations, a bedtime recording for his children. The revelation hinted at an even deeper level of intimacy, one that could rewrite the Duke's story in unexpected ways. Gasps and murmurs filled the hall, and cameras shifted focus to capture the silent exchange of astonishment. What would these tapes reveal? Personal confessions, unseen arguments. The crowd held its breath, on the verge of discovering the Duke's voice once more. The auction hall pulsed with electricity as the reel-to-reel tapes spun to life, and every eye locked on the dusty machine at center stage. Rows of velvet-draped tables showcased John Wayne's personal awards. Golden Globes, framed newspaper clippings, even a bronze statuette from a forgotten film festival. While behind ropes, bidders whispered bids and speculations. At the heart of it all stood Amelia Travers, the auctioneer, her voice barely above a whisper. Before we begin live bidding, we'll play selected excerpts from these recordings. Please listen closely. Silence fell. The recorder clicked, and a soft hiss preceded Wayne's unmistakable baritone. "This is the night I realized. Being the Duke doesn't make you fearless." A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. In those 7 words, the legend cracked, revealing a man who carried doubt as heavily as any badge of honor. The first excerpt ended, and for a heartbeat the room remained frozen. Then Wayne's voice trailed on in another track, recorded late one sweltering night in 1960. "We pushed ourselves brick by brick in that Alamo desert. I mortgaged everything. My house, my credit, believing I was forging history. But maybe I was just proving how stubborn a man can be to his own ruin." Listeners exchanged stunned glances. Here was a Hollywood titan confessing regret over his greatest triumph. Phones emerged to record the moment. Appraisers paused mid-notes. The Duke's unguarded honesty transformed these tapes from mere curiosities into cultural artifacts. A raw, late-night confession elevated to priceless relic. As murmurs swelled, Travers cued the next segment. A sultry voice joined Wayne, revealing an intimate affair. "Johnny," the woman whispered, "every second apart scorches me more than the desert sun." Wayne's gravelly chuckle followed. "I'd trade every prop on this lot for one night wrapped in your arms, darlin'." Shockwaves rolled across the audience. This wasn't Hollywood myth-making. This was evidence of a clandestine romance, pulsing beneath the veneer of 6-decade marriage vows. The auctioneer paused again, scanning the crowd as though daring someone to deny the truth. Caught between scandal and glamour, bidders realized they weren't just vying for tapes, they were bidding on forbidden chapters of a star's secret life. But the crowning revelation came with the final reel. Amelia lifted a single yellowed letter, labeled simply, "To my son." As she read Wayne's voice, hearts thundered. "I never had the courage to sign your birth certificate, but I hope you hear me now." The room convulsed. A hidden child, never publicly acknowledged, emerged from the Duke's shadow. Recorded laughter from a young boy echoed softly in the background. Then Wayne's voice returned, gentle. "Your laughter was the soundtrack to my happiest days. Days I wanted to hide from the world." Silence stretched taut, broken only by the hum of air conditioners. Collectors stared at one another, paddles trembling in hand. A legacy split in two. The icon everyone worshipped, and the father who kept his son in the wings. At that moment the auctioneer rapped her gavel. "We will now open bidding on the tape collection, including the confessional letter." A murmur rose, then crescendo. 200,000! 3! 5! Paddles fluttered like wings as deep pockets vied for ownership of Wayne's most private confessions. At 1.2 million, a hush descended, and then applause, hesitant at first, swelling into thunderous approval. The highest bidder, an anonymous media conglomerate, had secured the key to producing documentaries that could redefine an entire career. The gavel fell once more, sealing a new chapter of John Wayne history that extended far beyond Hollywood sets and box office tallies. Long after the final bid was placed, social feeds exploded with clips of the excerpts. Hashtags like 5Duke Revealed and Fate John on Wayne Vault trended worldwide. Podcast hosts promised live reactions to each tape. Tabloid headlines bristled with sensational teasers, Duke's darkest secrets, and the son he hid. Every notification pinged with the promise of more unheard revelations. Fans who had grown up admiring cowboy bravado now wrestled with grief, empathy, and curiosity. The tally of Wayne's on-screen victories felt incomplete without these new, unvarnished truths of his off-camera struggles. Back in Newport Beach, preservationists began cataloging the items removed from the vault. The weighty Union cavalry jacket, the scuffed Rooster Cogburn eye patch, and now the fragile tapes that held the Duke's very soul. As they worked, insiders quietly confirmed rumors of more hidden caches, additional reels, home movies, and possibly unfinished scripts tucked away in a second, undisclosed corner of the mansion. The promise of more surprises fueled a fresh wave of FOMO. If these tapes could rewrite history, what awaited discovery behind the next sealed door? In the end, the auction transcended commerce, becoming a reckoning with the man beneath the legend. John Wayne had spent decades forging an image of impenetrable toughness. Yet here, in these unguarded moments, the world glimpsed his fears, regrets, and unspoken love. The Duke's legacy would no longer be measured solely in ticket sales or box office triumphs, but in the fragile human heartbeat, captured forever on spools of magnetic tape. And for those who watched and listened, the real question remained: what secrets might still be locked away, waiting for the next dawn and the next brave soul to pry open those oak doors once more? Days after the record-breaking auction, silence fell on the Newport Beach mansion, now emptied of its treasures. Inside the vault, dusty outlines marked where iconic items had once drawn global attention. Reporters had vanished, leaving behind only soft echoes of excitement. Those polished floors, once a stage for history's greatest reveals, felt strangely hollow. Yet the story was far from over. Beneath that quiet lurked even deeper secrets, ready to surface and challenge everything we thought we truly knew. Within weeks, a streaming service secured exclusive rights to the uncovered tapes, promising exclusive interviews with crew members and behind-the-scenes insights, announcing a limited series diving into the Duke's confessions. Producers praised it as the definitive John Wayne expose, promising moments that would upend decades of legend. Teasers hinted at secret children and hidden romances, while voiceovers teased shocking revelations. Fans scrambled to binge the episodes live, fearing they might miss a single second of this cultural earthquake. Behind the scenes, John Wayne's descendants grappled with fallout. His eldest son lamented the invasion of privacy, noting each publicized secret reopened old wounds. Siblings emotionally weighed reconciliation, hoping newfound attention might heal fractured bonds. Lawyers filed bitter challenges to the will's legitimacy, while mediated talks stretched into late, tense hours. Public scrutiny intensified every dispute. In living rooms across America, families watched their own relationships mirrored by the Duke's kin, wondering how much truth should remain buried. News outlets seized on every detail, from the Duke's confessions of loneliness to his secret philanthropy. Opinion columns debated whether fame demanded greater transparency or forgiveness. Talk shows hosted panels of film critics and historians, dissecting the duality of man versus myth. Video clips captured fans tearing up at the recorded voice saying, "I feel more alone," with every standing ovation. In comment sections, thousands typed reactions. Heart emojis mingled with angry flames, creating digital tapestry of emotion. Rumors spread of additional caches, hidden behind false walls and beneath floorboards. Explorers whispered about secret corridors accessible through a sliding panel in the library. Some claimed unpublished scripts lay rolled in metal tubes, awaiting discovery. Others suggested reels of unseen footage chronicling the accident that almost took his life. With each whisper, the legend grew, turning curiosity into frenzy. Teams prepared to search every inch of the mansion, determined to unearth whatever truth lay buried beneath silent neglect. Months later, the mansion opened for tours, allowing visitors tread corridors that once concealed the Duke's secrets. Curators led small groups through restored rooms, pointing out safes and secret panels. Children gasped at the true grid-eye patch, while elders lingered before the cavalry jacket. Interactive displays offered transcriptions of Wayne's letters, each passage provoking hushed conversations. Attendance surged as the house became a pilgrimage site for cinephiles. Every visitor's footstep resonated with history, bridging memory and myth. Scholars and enthusiasts alike debated the ethical line between fascination and intrusion. At film festivals, panels dissected how personal artifacts altered interpretations of classic performances. University courses adjusted syllabi to include case studies on celebrity privacy and legacy. Meanwhile, fans posted photos of memorabilia hung above their mantels, recounting the spine-tingling moment they saw the vault contents on screen. Nostalgia mingled with unease, as each new exhibit forced admirers to deeply reconcile their childhood heroes with flawed humanity. Historians of American cinema offered varied perspectives. Some argued personal revelations enriched Wayne's on-screen persona, adding authenticity to roles he struggled to embody. Others warned of retroactive bias, cautioning fans against judging past films through scandal-tainted lenses. A leading biographer called the estate's contents the final missing chapters, urging audiences to embrace complexity over idol worship. Across academic journals and talk shows, the Duke's story became a case study in how legends evolve with each recently unearthed truth. Speculation swirls around remaining wings of the estate, where attic chests and basement crawlspaces beckon with promise. Private archivists petition courts for permission to scan letters and videotapes, arguing public interest outweighs privacy. Technology enthusiasts propose 3D mapping of every room to reveal hidden wall cavities. Meanwhile, rival documentarians vie for exclusive access, offering to fund conservation in exchange for rights to raw footage. With each proposal, the Duke's legacy expands, blurring the line between preservation and spectacle. Ultimately, the Duke's estate became a mirror, reflecting not just the man, but our collective yearning for myth and meaning. Unlocked safes and unsealed envelopes peeled back layers of a symbol, too often monumentalized. Restoration teams labor to preserve fragments, letters frayed at the edges and film reels faded by time, allowing generations to decide how to view John Wayne, as legend, as man, or as a complex fusion of both. The journey quietly continues, one secret at a time, as the global fascination with John Wayne's unguarded legacy deepen. Academic journals dedicated special issues, dissecting every nuance of his confessions. Film students pored over lecture slides, contrasting his on-screen bravado with the vulnerability captured in the unopened vault. Cultural Critics Weekend podcasts debated whether fame demands absolute transparency, while historians traced the evolution of star worship through Wayne's life. Digital archives made scans of letters available, prompting crowdsourced translation efforts to decode Wayne's shorthand and personal cryptic references. At museum exhibitions, audio booths replayed his confessions on demand, allowing visitors to feel the gravelly resonance of his voice. This wave of fascination transcended demographics. Millennials raised on biopics and retro nostalgia now queued alongside veteran cinephiles, forging unexpected conversations about Mythman and the fragile boundary between public legend and private truth. Curators reported that ticket sales soared by 50% whenever new excerpts were released online, proving that hunger for authenticity had no expiration date. In parallel, digital archivists embarked on an ambitious project to reconstruct the Newport Beach mansion in virtual reality. Laser scanning captured every grain of wood panels and every crack in the plaster ceiling, preserving the architectural soul of the estate before inevitable decay. This VR experience allowed global audiences to roam the sealed corridors from anywhere, clicking interactive hotspots to explore hidden safes or read transcribed letters. Tech enthusiasts experimented with augmented reality filters that overlaid Wayne's personal annotations onto footage of his films, creating multi-layered narratives that intertwined personal turmoil with cinematic triumph. Educators harnessed these tools for immersive lessons, guiding students through chapters of Wayne's life as though they were stepping onto a studio backlot. Each virtual heartbeat and whisper added layers of intimacy to the legend, reinforcing the notion that true grit went beyond horseback heroics and into the human heart. Yet with every revelation came thorny ethical questions. Opinion columns roared about the fine line between historical insight and voyeuristic intrusion. Some argued that the Duke's sealed estate represented sacred trust, meant to shield private grief from public spectacle. Others countered that once art becomes legendary, it belongs to collective memory, and every encrypted corner of its creator's mind should be illuminated. Legal scholars debated precedents for posthumous privacy, while PR firms drafted crisis protocols for other estates bracing for similar uncoverings. Meanwhile, fan forums erupted with heated debates. Was it fair to judge Wayne's past words by modern standards? Should generations of movie fans be forced to reconcile childhood idols with flawed convictions? Ultimately, the discourse underscored that legacy is never static, but a living dialogue between past and present. Visitors entering the mansion's exhibition wing often found themselves unexpectedly moved to tears. In one interactive station, families listened to a compilation of Wayne's candid moments, from wistful reflections on fallen comrades to whispered bedtime tales for his children. Parents held hands as grandchildren, wide-eyed, pressed their faces to screens replaying the Duke's gentle lullabies. In another display, audio recordings of his laughter rang alongside black and white home movies, revealing a tenderness seldom glimpsed in public. Volunteers noted that many guests lingered not out of historical curiosity, but out of emotional resonance, seeking echoes of their own family stories in Wayne's words. The mansion had become less a shrine to stardom, and more a testament to shared humanity, pain, pride, and the redemptive power of confession. By the time they left, visitors carried more than relics of Hollywood's golden age. They carried fragments of a soul laid bare. With every door opened, and every secret chronicled, speculation swirled about what else remained hidden in the Duke's domain. Whispers of misfiled marriage contracts, clandestine audio logs of studio arguments, and unedited rehearsal footage fueled amateur sleuths and professional investigators alike. Some hinted that private diaries chronicling Wayne's battle with addiction and physical pain might surface, offering a raw portrait of endurance beyond cowboy stoicism. Others believed a trove of unpublished scripts would reveal unfulfilled dream projects, hinting at roles far different from those immortalized on screen. Even devout historians joined treasure hunts, poring over architectural blueprints and scanning barcodes on old film canisters. The promise of undiscovered truth became a siren call that no historian, fan, or filmmaker could resist. As twilight falls on California's coastline, the Newport Beach mansion stands as both monument and mystery. History buffs and romantics return to its thresholds, drawn by the same lure that once led Wayne to unexplored frontiers. Preservationists haul fragile letters to vaults, while journalists pore over scripts and dissect debates. Each night, security lights flicker across ivy. Covered arches as guardians of the Duke's legacy inevitably await the next dawn, when new layers are tenderly peeled and fresh voices emerge. Whether the next revelation hides behind a false panel or sleeps on an unplayed reel, one fact remains. The story's heartbeat will echo quietly through time, until every secret has its day.